Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at Horror in the Halls. What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
And we're just two high school teachers talking about the spooky stuff we love. And it's a new year here in the halls, and with that comes a new format. This month's lesson plan will cover remakes. And to start us off, we're covering what many consider to be the GOAT, 2013's Evil Dead.
Yes.
Yeah, typically I hate horror remakes, but I didn't hate this one.
I mean, being a very big fan of Evil Dead 2, it's not what I wanted to be. But it was good. I didn't love it, but it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, for what it was, I thought it was pretty good. To take that source material and try to make something else of it,
yeah,
I think was pretty interesting. They did a good job at it. So yeah, let's get into the deets and then we can talk all about it. It was directed by Fede Alvarez. It's his feature directorial debut. He did some shorts before this, commercials, that kind of jazz. His other notable works would be Don't Breathe, which I super love, and The Girl in the Spider's Web. He did some other things, but those were the two big ones he directed. The other stuff he kind of wrote.
Gotcha.
This was written by him and Rodo. I can't say this guy's last name. Sayaguz. I can't say it, so I'm sorry that I butchered that. Good job. Of course, it's based on Evil Dead by Sam Raimi. They have kind of that same world. Not necessarily the same characters, though, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Cinematography on this was by Aaron Morton. He's mostly does a lot of TV stuff. Like some of his other works are American Gods, Orphan Black, Black Mirror, Sweet Tooth, and the new Lord of the Rings of Power show.
Okay.
Which is really beautiful. So I guess that explains why some of these shots are so good. Special effects by Roger Murray and Jane O'Kane. They actually won an award for their effects in this movie. They won the...
they were pretty good.
They were awesome. They won the Fangoria Chainsaw Award for Best Makeup Creature Effects.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the makeup was really well done. But I'll get to that later.
The buckets of blood and whatnot. Had a budget of $17 million, but it made $97.5 in the box office, which I think that's pretty good.
That's a lot. No wonder they're making another one.
I know. I'm gonna make all the money.
We made so much money on the first one.
Mm-hmm. Especially if that was your whole budget. You made a ton of money.
Yeah, I'm saying.
It's got an interesting Rotten Tomatoes. It's got 63% for critics, but 64% audience. I haven't seen one that close before. 3.4 on Letterboxd, which was to be expected. Most of the younger people that use Letterboxd love this movie. I actually talked to another podcast host that's local to Louisville that said this is his favorite horror movie. So that was kind of interesting.
It's not my favorite. I can see where it could be someone's favorite based on certain things. But it's definitely not my favorite.
If you looked at it and you took the title Evil Dead off of it, would that take away all of your negative opinion of it?
Yeah, probably.
If it was not called the Evil Dead.
If it wasn't a remake. If it was just like...
Well, we'll get to that. It's not technically a remake.
Well,
it's in the same world as Evil Dead. Well, because there was an issue, as Bruce Campbell wouldn't sign off on them doing a remake. He didn't want to pass on the mantle of Ash. Because originally it was supposed to be a direct remake. And there was some terrible casting choices, like Ashton Kutcher and Marlon Wayans were supposed to be up for playing Ash, which would have been absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
Thank you for not doing that. But yeah, originally it was going to be a straight remake. And then they decided he was not on board. And because he was not on board, Sam was not on board. So now it's in the same world.
And I kind of wish they would have been like, instead of because it's set in the same world and it's almost a retelling, because it's the same stuff happens. It's just not the same amount of people. It's not the same storyline per se, but essentially it's all based around that Necronomicon book. And then it's you're like, I think if it had been like maybe a continuation of the story, I wouldn't have been like, maybe like down the line, like maybe like Ash was like their family or something, or like maybe that would have made it, I could have made the connection a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know why they would have even put him at the end of it. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I was reading into that, and because they were going to do an Army of Darkness Part 2 and merge the two worlds. Ash and Mia were going to team up. So what this movie is supposed to be is after Ash gets sucked into the vortex, this is what was left behind. So that's why he's older at the end, even though the fact that he's just older. But their idea is that this has happened. Whatever took over this cabin was after Ash and them were gone. So it's no longer their family's cabin. It's this new family's cabin.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I don't know if I would still like it anyway, but I have reasons for that, and I'm gonna get to that. But like, it was a good movie. I'm not saying it wasn't a good movie. I just didn't particularly love it. But if it's really not Evil Dead to me,
Yeah.
because I need Ash for it to be, or like not even him really, like maybe a character similar to him, or like we talked about yesterday, like none of them really became a badass at the end. They were, I mean, she kind of did at the very last second because she had to.
Yeah, it was more survival than anything else.
Yeah, it was her survival thing, and her brother sucked, but I'll get into that a little bit.
All of them suck.
Yeah, they all sucked, but he
The
was
whole
terrible.
cast. So
He
let's get
was
to,
awful.
before we get any more, the main plot of this is just Mia. She's a drug addict, is determined to kick her habit. To that end, she asks her brother and all their friends to stay with her at this family's remote sketch cabin
Yeah,
to help
for
her through her
real.
withdrawal. And of course, they find a book and a bunch of like mutilated animals in the basement.
Lots of
Yeah,
cats.
lots of cats and
I was
possums and
really
whatnots.
sad about that.
And this dumbass decides to open the book that's wrapped up in barbed wire
Yeah, that
and
makes
then
me angry. There's
pencil
a
sketch the
reason.
words and read it.
Yeah,
What?
freaking stupid. All my notes have just me calling him a moron or an idiot or something like any form of word to tell you that he's an ignorant asshole. That's what I've done.
Yeah, I agree. So
I
let's hit the
can't stand
cast
him.
and then we'll tear it apart.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Jane Levy is Mia. She's kind of the main star of the show. She kind of plays who's she playing from the first one? There's a girl who goes
Hmm?
in the basement in Evil Dead. My mind just went totally blank.
The girl who goes in the basement. What
In
are you
the
talking about?
cellar in Evil Dead, the one that's like, I'll swallow your soul. Which girl
Oh,
is that?
that's the mom.
What?
That's
In
the
the
mom. The
original Evil
mom.
Dead? There's no
Oh, the
mom
original.
there.
Oh, and not the original Evil Dead. I'm thinking of Evil Dead 2. I can't remember. I
Even Evil Dead 2, it's his girlfriend that goes in the basement, right? Or is it his sister? It's his sister, right? What's her name?
What are you talking about?
In Evil Dead 2, what is the sister's name? I can't remember right now.
Sister. Whose sister?
Ash's sister. The people he kills in Evil Dead 2 that he's like blamed for killing is his sister and his girlfriend.
Okay.
His sister's the one that gets put in the cellar in Evil Dead 2. What is her name?
I have no idea.
Really? It's
I
Cheryl.
don't.
Jeez. I
Why
had to
am I
look it
drawing a
up.
blank of sister? What are you're freaking giving.
That's the main cast of Evil Dead. It's Ash Williams, his sister Cheryl Williams, and then their friends and his girlfriend, Linda.
I'm thinking of Evil Dead 2, Bob. That's
Evil
what I
Dead
was
2 and
just
Evil Dead 1
said.
is the exact same story, just retold and funnier.
There's no sister in Evil Dead 2.
Whatever.
There's not. The mom is in the basement or in the cellar. She's the one that said, "I swallow your soul."
I don't think so. I think you
I,
made that up.
nope, I did not. I'm looking it up right now. Go
No,
ahead.
me
Keep
too.
talking.
Now I'm over here like confused. I'm mixing the two movies in my brain.
You are.
Anyway, Mia plays the Cheryl character, the one that goes to the basement, I'll swallow your soul, the whole nine. But
Yeah.
then she gets cleansed and becomes the hero at the end, which I mean, I guess was okay. That's whatever. Well, maybe
Okay,
there is
so
no.
in Evil Dead 2, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna stop you right there. Linda is the girlfriend in the second one,
Yeah.
and Annie is Nobi or however you say her name is the daughter of the family that owns the cabin. And she finds out that her mom is in the cellar because she pokes her head up out of the cellar and she's like singing to her. You hush, little baby. I start
Okay.
singing
Yeah.
that little
I'm mixing the
lullaby.
two movies in
Okay.
my head.
Yeah, you're mixing because now after you said that, I do remember the other couple from the because wasn't there a couple? It was four of them, right? In
Yeah.
Evil Dead, or am I
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, I
Yeah.
do remember that. It's been
I'm
a long
mixing the
time since I've
movies in
seen
my
the
head.
first one. It's okay. I've just seen Evil Dead 2 a million times, so I was like, I know I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
Johnny
I
would be
like
like,
Evil
"Oh
Dead
my
1 a
god,
little bit better, so I'm mixing the two in my head.
I like Evil Dead 2 a lot." I think
Evil
it's
Dead
because
2 is
it's to me
great,
it's
but I
fun.
think Evil Dead 1 it's more serious, I think, and now that's why I like it better. Or Evil Dead 2 is
Yeah, it
more
is. It
comedic,
is serious.
but I
Well,
also
that's why I
love
like
Army of
it.
Darkness more than all of them, so I really can't say nothing. Army of Darkness is my favorite of all three.
Yeah.
Hail to the king, baby. I love it. Anyway, now that we're off our tangent, guys, sorry, don't judge us. We got Jane Levy as Mia Allen, Shallow Fernandez as David Allen, Lou Taylor Pucci as Eric. He's the one that's an idiot. Jessica Lucas is Olivia, and Elizabeth Blackmore is Natalie. And those are kind of the main cast you see. It starts with a little bit of like the Nolby family, where like it starts off like instead of the mom being in the basement, the daughter is the possessed one, and she killed the mom, and then the dad has to cleanse her. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of, I guess, where they took some of that from, some of those nods to the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, now that I'm thinking more into it, you're totally right. I'm really mixing the first two, because in the first one it's his sister, but in Ash vs. the Evil Dead, it's a continuation of the first movie, not the second one, because he gets blamed for killing his sister, but his sister's not in Evil Dead 2, and I think
No.
that's where I'm mixing them up.
Yeah.
Because in Ash vs. the Evil Dead, everyone talks about him killing his sister and his girlfriend and their friends.
Okay.
Because Evil Dead 2 is like a weird requel. It's like a retelling, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why they would do that, though, in the
I
show.
don't either. I was really confused because Johnny had me watch Evil Dead a long time ago, and then he was like, "Well, let's watch Evil Dead 2. It's my favorite." And I'm like, and he's like, "It's like very similar to the first one, but it's not." It was
But
so
better.
weird.
Well, this is
But
better because they had more money and more time.
yeah,
It was like, oh, my first one was a success. And it's made like 6 years later. It's like, let's make this other one and make it better.
yeah.
Because it's like
There's just so
81
much
and
about it I
87.
love.
They're both
Yeah.
great. They're both great. But this one, like it's got some interesting, some great shots. And I don't hate the characters. I mean, they're stupid. They make a lot of really dumb decisions, but that goes back to the writing just not being great.
I think a lot of the decisions I feel like the person who made the dumbest decisions was Eric, but that's just me. I think
David
the
was
other
right there
ones
with
were
him.
written well enough, only because this is why I didn't like the film. I'm gonna tell you now before we get into like all the other things, like the characters and everything. So one of the running themes is that she's a drug addict
Hmm.
that's trying to detox, and they're trapping her there, and they don't believe her because they're in their minds she's trying to talk her way out of being there to get clean. But
Yeah,
really what it is she's trying to talk her way out of getting out of there because it's something's not right, and she knows that.
because she got raped by a
Um
tree.
well, it was even before that when she started smelling all
Yeah,
the raunchiness, and no one could. But this is what blows my mind. How come she was the only one that could smell that shit?
I don't know.
Because that's rotted animals hanging up from the no. Anyways, but I think that's why I didn't like this so much, because I felt like by the end of it, it was more of like her overcoming her addiction, and that's what I didn't like about it. Because that to me is like it would be hell to go through detox and to get past your addiction, and that's what that it was a metaphor for, and I hated it.
Yeah,
So that's where I was at. And that's what I was telling Johnny after the movie was over. I was like, yeah, I just didn't like it. And I think that's why I didn't like it, because they added that element to it. And that element is what really screwed with me. So that's just where I'm at. That's my opinion. I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but I
I
just
mean,
don't like
sorry,
it.
it's our opinion. It's our podcast. Fuck everybody else.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Well, see, I don't. I'm not gonna zero in on something like that because it doesn't. It's not really central to the plot. That's just why they're there.
It was on this one.
I don't think so. Like
I
it's,
think it was.
if you read into it real deep, you can see that as why. But like for me, it was, hey, I want to remake the Evil Dead. What's the reason for them being in this dilapidated cabin? Because her drug thing never comes up ever again after she turns into a demon. They're like, oh no, we was wrong. She's a demon. Then they roll on from that, and then it just slowly
Well,
progresses to everyone else
no,
being a
because
demon.
Eric says she was, because he finally admits that he read from the stupid book like a dumbass. I can't
Yeah,
stand his character. I'm
no.
so mad at him. It's
But
so
if you were
weird.
taking your sister to the woods who's already done this before, and she was like, I just want to leave, and they kind of foreshadow that she's done this before. When she asked to leave, we're not going to take her. So they're basing it on prior experience with this character, not necessarily
Yeah.
just being like writing off, because she's done this before. So just like with a lot of addicts, it's hard to get clear. You know what I'm saying? So like, I guess that's their reasoning. It's kind of silly. Again, that's one of my first notes. I'm like, why would you ever try to go detox in a dilapidated cabin? No. That place looks
I
like you
don't
shouldn't
know.
be in it. Like it would fall down. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was not. And and the woods are like real creepy.
Yes.
Like they're not
Yes.
normal woods. They're just not.
Obviously, no. They're possessed by the demons.
By the diamonds.
The demons.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, the setting's creepy. It really pays homage to kind of the original one, but without
Hmm.
downright copying it, which I think is kind of cool. They were successful in that matter. Like I go into every horror remake with a very much like, I'm gonna hate this movie opinion. and I did not hate this one just because of I love the practical effects in it. I like the parts that were more like Evil Dead, like the stuff involving the Deadites and like the cool camera movements through the woods, like Raimi did, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
And
like the demon was like following you, and
yeah,
it
I
was
like
making the
that.
same kind of sounds,
Yeah, I liked
like it
all
was
that.
rushing through.
I
Yeah,
liked all
that was good.
the homage to the original. Yeah, the characters, they're flat. You know, they're not really well developed. I'm really glad
No.
a merger did not take place. I don't think she would have done well next to Ash as a character because, like you said, she doesn't become a badass in the end. She just survives.
Yeah.
Whereas he like straps a chainsaw to his fist and carries a shotgun and fights deadites in another
Yeah.
dimension. You know what I mean? Whereas she's just like, I'm gonna do what I have to do to not die, which I think is
Mhm.
something any human would do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whereas in the original, he takes it to a whole different level because it's not just about survival. He has a whole scene where he's duct taping a chainsaw to his fist. You know what I mean, or to his nub,
Mhm.
which really would
His nub.
probably not work, but it looked cool. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
this is my boomstick," and this is whatever. But I did appreciate some of the nods. You know, like the car, even though that's not the same car, but it's a pretty close car,
Mhm.
which I liked, and it was just interesting. A lot of little nods, I think.
Yeah, there was. I just the writing is where I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
Well, he was trying to modernize it. You know, what's the in the '80s there wasn't so much of a drug epidemic that we have now. You know what I mean? So in 2013 there was a
yeah.
huge drug epidemic going on. So that would have been like central to people of that age's mindset as a reasoning. You know what I mean? Like hell, the drug
Mhm.
war had been going on since the '80s, but when the first one came out, it wasn't like an epidemic like it is now necessarily. And plus, the '80s horror, they had no reasons. Like, hey, we're just going to go to the woods and hang out, and then everybody's going to die.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot I liked about it and there's a lot I didn't like about it. So like
Yeah,
I just felt the serious undertone of it. I think that's where I didn't really love it as much.
we had false flat.
Yeah, and I will say that I thought the makeup was really well done.
Yeah, they were creepy.
And I know you said that they won an award. They should have because it literally looked like someone just infested with like a demon. Like in their eye, the colors of their contacts were like perfect and like their skin. The only thing I told Johnny this after we watched it, I was like, "Look, I said I appreciate the makeup. I think the makeup was really well done. But like it was hard for me to watch Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 when Ash actually gets infected and it's like his entire face turns
Yeah,
and it's like sunken in and his eyes are like white and cloudy and like he looks otherworldly whereas they looked just like themselves and more possessed. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
he almost looked like zombie-ish whereas they looked like regular people just like infected with something. And I'm like, that was well done. But like it was harder for me because I was like with the demon possession stuff it's different in both. So, I don't know. I guess cuz I'm such a huge fan of the Evil Dead movies. It's hard for me to watch this one and love it.
well, I think they were going more for like how Cheryl looked in Evil Dead 1. Like how Ash looks is a lot different even compared to the other possessions in Evil
Mhm.
Dead. You know what I mean? Like Cheryl's face is more white and she has those creepy sunken in eyes. They look like zombies, really.
Yeah, they
Um
do.
but it looks, you know what I mean, because that was like what was popular in the style of the time. You know, but how she
Mhm.
looks and her eyes eventually go all white. They all do that. But I kind of dug it. I thought she was scary, dude. Like
Oh no,
Mia
she
is
was
scary.
Yeah, and I think she played that character well. Like when she wasn't herself anymore, when she was actually I guess a deadite is what I guess you would
Yeah.
call her at that point. I just think she did a really good job. I think she did better at playing that than she did her own like the Mia character.
Oh yeah,
So,
100%. 100%. She
she
kills
was
it.
very good. She's very good at playing creepy.
And she like
I
is
will give her that.
trying to go down on that other girl, and then she tells her brother to come down there, and I'm like, come here, let me suck your cock. I was like, oh, okay. You took it to
Ooh,
a
I
whole
know, it's
level.
terrible, and he's like, "Mia," I'm like she's like, I don't know what she said, but she's like,
Like your
"I'm
sister's
not
in
Mia."
hell. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
I'm
okay.
like, "Ugh." I don't
Um,
know,
it had some
but
Exorcist vibes, like your mother sucks cocks in hell. Like it was kind of like that vibe, the way she was acting, which
yeah.
I dug it, dude. 'Cause I thought it was cool. She looks creepy, and her eyes are all big and bulging, which I thought was
Mhm.
creeptastic. I will say the makeup on this one, and of course you can't really compare 2013 to 1981, but is so much better and looks so good. But their makeup crew was huge on this one. I'm sure it was probably like one dude with some makeup, maybe a handful of people in 1980s. There's like
Yeah.
40 people in the makeup department.
I thought so Mia's makeup looked really good, but I thought, what is her name? Olivia's makeup was freaking badass.
Oh, when
It
she
was
cuts her
so
bottom jaw off.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's makeup.
I know. It's
That's
all
insane to
practical.
me when they do that, and I'm like, "Man, I would love to watch a behind the scenes on this to see how they did her face. It would be so cool to watch." I mean, I kinda have an idea how they did it, but, like, it's cool to watch them do those big makeups like that. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
I think it's cool that he did that because apparently Fede Alvarez, his background is actually CGI. So he did CGI before he was a director, but he wanted to stay true to the franchise. And as a tribute to the original Evil Dead, basically to Sam Raimi, he did all practical effects. CGI was only used for the fire.
And I appreciate that because I was really, if they had used CGI, I think it wouldn't have been as good of a movie, like,
No,
visually.
especially not in that time. I think it'd have taken you out of it a little bit, and you
Mhm.
wouldn't have. It felt even further detached from the franchise.
Yeah, and it made it more gritty, which it
Yeah,
needed to be because that's what they were going for. They wanted it to be what the original version was supposed to be.
but this like
So,
all remakes, it gets compared. But I think you
mhm.
can't compare it because it's supposed to be different people. Which I think was a smart decision. Totally redoing it, it would have been just totally shit on and thrown to
Oh
the
no,
curb.
I wouldn't have liked. It would have been hard to find somebody to play Ash.
Yeah, well,
I completely get it.
he's
You know.
nobody. I mean, look what happened to the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. You cast someone else under Robert Englund, it sucked. You know what I mean? Like movies
Mhm.
like Halloween and
Friday
Friday
13th. Yeah,
13th, stuff that involves a silent killer that's just a big dude, anybody can play.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need Kane Hodder. Any big dude can be Jason. Any big stunt guy can be Michael Myers. Only one person is Ash Williams. You know what I mean? Only
well,
one
yeah.
person is Freddy Krueger. It's the same thing with like Leatherface. Anybody can really be Leatherface. You know what I mean? As we've
Yeah,
seen
because
in like
he.
the remake of Leatherface, I think he's really successful in how he looks. You know what I'm saying? That part to me is like, okay, that's cool. And this one, it's like, had they recast Ash, I think it would have been, like I said, not a good movie.
No, it wouldn't have been. I really like Ash.
Yeah.
He's a fun
Well, he
character.
just Bruce Campbell is just Bruce Campbell. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he is that character. I think after so many years of being that guy, he's just become that guy.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Yeah. So like, but I'm glad they didn't do that. I was glad that they stayed practical. I like the nods. The cabin is very similar. Got the little shed outside. It's
Yeah.
also very similar. They got it's a 64, not a 63, but they have a Delta 88 sitting out there. It's all broken down, which I thought was kind of cool. Because again, at the end of the movie, he gets sucked into the void. Other stuff gets left behind. That would make sense. You know what I mean? So that was their
Mhm.
original intention, which is good. But then again, I'm glad that they did not do that because I don't think it would have gone well with her and him. When they have dueling chainsaws, it would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, stupid.
I also want to talk about, like, I said this a bunch when we watched this last night. She looks at a machete. Nah, I want the chainsaw. Why in the world? Chainsaw is the least practical weapon of all times. It looks cool, and people are scared of it. Like, from all my years working in a haunted house, people are definitely afraid of chainsaws. But they're the least practical thing ever. A, it runs out of gas, and then it's just a paperweight. B, if you can't start it, you can't use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to start a chainsaw.
Saying it took me like
I'm
five
not
minutes.
I'm not strong enough for all that.
No, you're the most haggard looking. And the thing, they're slow. Like with that machete, you could have hacked that demon to pieces. With a chainsaw, you have to cut through slow or it gets caught up and stuff. So yeah, they're just silly. Like it was cool in 81 because that was what he had and it looked awesome and he attached it to his person. But he also had a shotgun. So it wasn't like I'm only reliant on this chainsaw. I have a shotgun. Like, come on.
Yeah,
He had a
and then
boomstick.
there's this scene with Natalie and she's like her hand is doing the ash thing where it's like she got bit, so now
Yeah.
she's like starting to turn. So cuts through her arm
Oh,
with an
dude,
electric
at the boss.
knife.
Oh, at the
And
bicep
I
too.
was
Yeah.
like, That would have taken forever if you were able even to do it."
It looked cool though.
It did. It
The
was
makeup on the
there was
arm looked gnarly, like way cooler than
and her
Ash's
arm just,
did.
like, slid off. I was like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Like he had like the veins and stuff. You could see the black, but hers was like rotting and looked gross. And she's
Yeah.
like, I gotta cut it off. I'm like,
She was like, "I
ah,
did it. I did it." I'm like, "Yeah, girl, you did it."
yeah, I
I
know.
was so
It was
and then it didn't
wild.
work. It didn't even work.
I know. And then she came out with a
That's
nail
so
gun.
I know.
Ah,
I'm telling you, I know it was Eric got the worst of everything pretty much,
he
but I'm
deserved
gonna
it.
tell you
Fuck
something.
him.
He deserved it. He was the reason all this happened.
No, look, guys, if you're in a old cabin and you come across a book or anything bound in barbed wire, don't open it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like clipping it open. I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the hell are you doing?
If you go
And
into
then
a
at one
basement and there's dead cats hanging everywhere and the book is in the center of this room,
and then you're like,
leave.
it looks like something was burned here. And I'm like, look, sir.
Yeah.
And then he was real worried because he was like, it looks like some kind of like witchcraft was done down here. And I'm like, okay, so if you're worried about it, why would you be the person to read it?
What
You know
kills me
what I
is the
did
words
though?
were scratched out and he like penciled them to read it. Idiota.
I
He's dumb.
know, so stupid. I did really the one part about this movie that I really liked that I felt wasn't really done well in the original was showing more of the book and what happens in each step of the book. I thought that was cool because I liked knowing like what the next step in the curse was. You know, I'm like, oh god, she's gonna cut her face off, or
Yeah, that was kind of cool. I did
I don't know, I
I
liked
didn't
that.
like all the weird red pen in the book because it was just seemed odd. You know what I mean? Like, and it was
Well, it
obviously
looks
red pen.
Well, it looked like the people before, like, I guess the dad from the beginning. I was kind of reading between the lines that maybe dad was like, don't read this. Do not read this. And then he helped that lady after he killed his daughter. He was like, let's freaking seal this shit up so nobody will get,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'm gonna say, I wrote a note here. No face. It's not as cool.
Oh, yeah. That part was like, dang.
The book is nice, but I like the face on the original Necronomicon. It's
Yeah.
pretty rad. And it
This one
has
was just like
pages.
bound in
They're just
skin.
not really detailed. You know what I mean? Like it has like the skull looking like a deadite and all the crazy Kandarian text and like the red. But it's supposed to be inked in like human blood and stuff. You know what I mean? Like and you can have notes in it. I just thought it looked cool, but I like the original one better. I like the original Necronomicon. I think it's interesting. And but I do agree a little bit. Like the pages, when you see the original pages, a lot of them are really plain and it has stuff on it, but it's not like totally filled out like they are in the new book.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool because they didn't do like they did show it, but they didn't go into more detail like the new one did. Now
Yeah.
I do like that. I do like that part of it.
It was done well. I wish it had a face, but it was done well.
Yeah, it was just bound in skin.
Yeah,
Ugh.
which was cool looking. You know, it's whatever. But like even like the book in Ash vs. the Evil Dead has a face too. So I was like, yeah, the old Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Oh, I dig it. It's one of my favorite parts. You know, it's very it's taken straight from Lovecraft, which is cool. And it just has an interesting vibe, right? And has that, gateway to the other realm or the past, I guess. I'm not entirely sure where Army of Darkness takes place, if it's a different dimension or a past, but it's pretty dope.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do I got? Oh, so what I wanted to mention this because I remember Aaron saying it last night when we were watching it. But the names of all the characters, the first letter at each of their names spell out demon. And I was like,
Yeah.
they did that on freaking purpose, dude.
Oh,
That was pretty
guarantee it.
clever. That was very
Guarantee it.
clever. I will give them that. That was very clever. But so going back to Eric reading, I I've made a lot of notes about him reading this stupid book because you talking about the red. It kind of took away from the book a little bit because there was red writing in it. But it was like he was reading it. He was like, "Oh, don't say this out loud. Do not read this." Blah blah blah. And then he does the little pencil sketch or whatever. But he waits for the longest freaking time to say anything. But then he comes across that page right after she comes back from getting raped by the tree, which I'm gonna tell you something. When I originally watched Evil Dead with Johnny, and I was like, "Hold up a second, is she getting raped by a tree?" And he's like, like laughing. I'm like, "This is not funny," and that's weird. But the rape scene of the tree in this one was horrible.
Yeah, it was.
Like and then it was just like, because it doesn't show, like in the first one, it does not show like the end part of that situation. But in this one, it shows the entire situation and how, and then the lady coming up. That's where I was confused. Who was that the old girl from the beginning, or was that her like looking at herself? I was
Um,
really
I
was
couldn't
really
tell.
lost. I
Yeah,
couldn't tell either. I was very confused
because
on
they're
that.
so
That's the only.
similar looking in their faces. It's
Yeah,
hard to tell.
I had a that was a loss of clarity on my part. I could not figure out who that was. But when the tree branch kind of just disappears up into her body, I'm like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
sounds terrible. I
yeah,
can't." It was, and you don't think about it being something that stays, but ooh, I don't know, it hurt me. And then it pans back to Eric at one point, and he where they weren't like believing her and stuff, and he flips this stupid ass page, and it's a girl spread eagle on the thing, and and vines going up
yeah.
her vagina. I'm kind of over it. I was like, "This is terrible." But
Well, that's
I
what
thought that
happens in the
scene was.
original one too, though. The original one, she
It
gets held up
is.
in the air, and the tree just goes up in her, but comes back out. This one was like, "I'm going in you. You're possessed."
And you're staying there. Ew. It's like, it's one of those moments where when you say for certain things where you're like, I just feel dirty and I just
Yeah,
feel like I need to do, that's how I felt. I was like,
it's one of
it's
the
on
things
me.
I didn't necessarily care for about the end. How they had those three ways to cleanse a body, and one of them was live burial. I get that if you were bitten, but she has like possessed tree goo up inside of her, like her whole
I'm
intestine.
saying.
That being buried alive is not cleaning you. I'm sorry.
No.
I did read something though. One of my little fun facts here is that they actually buried her alive. So to show the rush of urgency while digging her back up, like they legitimately buried her alive. So when he's digging, he's really getting her out of there to make sure she wasn't underground for too long. Like that's legit. There was no air
There's
bubbles or nothing.
no way in hell I would have agreed to that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm like, nah, you can use a dummy.
it makes you
That's
want to give
fine.
old Jane Levy a little props because she got buried alive and they had to dig her out. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
that what and it put her in the moment too, because when the bag's on her head, she starts like she's hyperventilating, and you could tell the bag's like
yeah, I
like back
lost
and
my mind
forth
on
on
that
her.
one.
I was
Yeah,
like,
mm-mm,
oh, but I
mm-mm.
did not know that was actually real. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
There's no way in hell I would have agreed to that. Now I'm good. Thanks. My
I
luck,
know.
y'all would leave me in there just a minute too long.
I know.
Like, did they have
She
paramedics on
died.
set?
Oops. I guarantee it. I mean, they had to for something like that. I don't know why they wouldn't. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, that's stressful.
essentially, like I said, it's one of those things. But I thought it was cool. It did add a sense of urgency. You know what I mean? You're digging her up. She's in there. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and you know what? I was just so mad at that brother the whole freaking time. I'm like, this all could have been avoided if you would have listened multiple times throughout the course of the story. But you're playing. Like, it's like he's too, I don't know, naive's not the word. It's like more of like he is just so afraid of her being like her mom, their mom, and
Yeah.
like it was like, but that was never fleshed out for me, so I don't really understand what that meant.
Well, I was just reading something about that that kind of makes me view the writing a little different.
Okay.
Apparently, Diablo Cody polished and Americanized the screenplay, but she's uncredited because Fede Alvarez and Roto, however you say his last name, are not native English speakers. So their dialogue needed touching up in their screenplay. So I wonder
Okay.
if the original would have been like a little bit better because like everyone kisses Diablo Cody's ass. I think she's terrible. Like everyone's like,
I
Juno's
don't
the
know.
best movie ever. I don't like her. I think she's
I
super
was like, I don't know
overrated.
who that is.
You ever seen Juno?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's like a teen pregnancy movie. It's not a bad
I
movie,
know.
but everyone just kisses her ass. I'm like, I don't think she's that great. That explains a lot of some of the dialogue choices and
Okay.
options, but whatever. But there's
I
some
just
cool
thought
things in this movie and some
There
not
is
so.
the writing wasn't terrible, but it wasn't. I feel like it needed a bit more review to be stronger, be a stronger piece, because the characters were all very flat, like you said. And I need at least one well-rounded character in a movie, and I just did not get that. The only one that did, like, the acting part that did well was Mia as the Deadite, and that's
Yeah.
where I'm like, that's phenomenal. It was well done. And then Eric, he was just a dipshit. I was like, there's one note I made in here somewhere, and I was like, all the women are possessed, and the men are the worst.
Yeah. Useless.
They're just yeah, freaking useless. Neither of them were helpful.
No.
They made things worse, both of them, for
100%.
different reasons.
If you notice, though, it was something funny is that their clothing choices is very similar to the original movie. Like when you show up, Mia's wearing a Michigan State sweatshirt, and that's what I think one of the girls in the original one wears. And
Oh,
then
okay,
David's wearing that blue chambray shirt, and Eric is wearing that same plaid shirt that the characters in the original Evil Dead wear.
okay, yeah, I
Couple
didn't
little nods
notice.
in there.
Yeah, they did a good job with the nods. And they stuck pretty good to like the set, like the setting.
I would like to see the director's cut of this film. I don't think the one we watched is a director's cut. Because I was reading apparently, which I think is kind of interesting, the studio never told him to pull back at all. They said, "We're going for the hard R, you do you." In the original cut, the MPAA rated it NC-17. So there's like
What is
6 minutes of footage that are cut out of the film because to get it rated R.
what is that rating that you said before? What does that mean?
NC-17. NC-17s mean no one under 17 can watch it.
Oh, okay,
It's like
gotcha.
it's what comes after R, essentially.
Oh, I didn't even know that there
Yeah.
was something like that.
Yeah, that's because we don't release movies in America that are NC-17. Like they don't come out in theaters. It's one of those
Okay.
things where unless you were over 17, like a rated R movie, your parents can buy tickets for you or sign you in. But
Yeah.
NC-17 is supposed to be if you are not 17, you can't watch this movie.
You can't go. Okay.
Yeah, regardless. So they chose to edit some footage out. So apparently the director's cut has the NC-17 rating and has all the things put back in it.
Ew, I wonder what it is
I
because
don't
it
know.
was already kind of
I want to try to
grimy,
find it and
and
watch it now.
I just don't know if I want to sit through that again. Gosh. I mean, it wasn't like I was super scared like watching it or anything, but it just made me feel so like it was very disturbing and it was just gross. Like I don't do well with possession movies. So this is the closest thing that I'm probably gonna get to watching
I know,
one.
but you love Evil Dead 2, which is a possession movie.
Yeah, it okay, but it's based around the Necronomicon, and that's not a text that I believe in. So there's that because it's
True.
fictional. Well, supposedly fictional. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But I if it's like a Christian based possession, like that kind of stuff, I don't like that at all. That bothers me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch it either.
Yeah, it did. That hits too close, and I feel like I to my belief system where I'm just like I don't want to watch that. No, I've never seen The Exorcist. I've never seen Exorcism of Emily Rose or whatever her name is, and all those. I just can't. I don't have it in me to watch
I
those.
don't watch them either. But I think it goes back to that whole like the scarier horror when it's things you can't like fight against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen The
What is
Exorcist, but I wasn't allowed to watch it until I was an adult. So my mom is very much like, no, she's still scared of it.
Yeah, my mom is too. My mom said my grandma took her to see that in the movie theater. And she said, I have no idea why my mom would have taken me to see that.
I don't know. My mom has never seen it. The pictures freaked her out, and she will not watch it.
My mom is scarred from the one time she
Yep.
watched it on the big screen. And she said, I cannot believe my mom would have me go see that. I'm like, damn it, grandma, why are you so crazy?
I know.
Like, take your child to go see
I
that.
felt kind of bad, but also thought it was kind of funny because I went to watch it as an adult, and I very much pulled a Johnny, and I was laughing at some of the scenes. And the lady in front of me told me I was going to hell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
because I thought it was
Thank
funny because
you.
it's just ridiculous. She was like, "You're going to hell," and I was like, "Lady, you brought your kid to see this. I want to show her what the enemy looks like." Is what she told me. It was hilarious. It was a
That
whole
is
thing.
terrible.
I
Why
know.
do you want to give your child nightmares?
That's
That
what I'm
is
saying.
awful. You are a wretched human being.
Hmm.
That's what I have to say to you, ma'am.
I just laughed at her. Me and the girl I was with were like, "Whatever. I guess we're going to hell," and then just moved on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Johnny laughs at that kind of stuff too, but I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's funny. So I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it's
That's what he was telling me before we watched it. He was like, look, he goes, this one might bother you more because it seems more real than the old one.
well, yeah, it's not as
And I
comedic.
was no, but it didn't like it made me feel uneasy, and I just said like almost like it's on me.
Yeah,
Like every like all the blood and all the like
makes you feel
bodily
dirty.
fluids and just yeah, it was just such a grimy like ugh.
Speaking of the blood, they apparently used 70,000 gallons of fake blood in this movie.
Well, yeah, because it was a downpour at the
Yeah,
end.
50,000 gallons are just in the final scene of them battling with, I guess, her as a demon, or it's the girl who gets burned alive at the beginning. I don't think it's her, but their faces are so similar. They should have cast
I
somebody
was
totally
very
different.
confused about that. I don't understand that who that was.
Yeah, it's either her demon self or it's the girl from the beginning.
Yeah.
I wish they'd have cast like a girl whose facial structure was different.
Yeah, so we would know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the demon version of herself.
Even though it was the girl who got Jane Levi was not supposed to have that role. She only got it because someone else backed out. I think like Lily Collins was supposed to get it and then backed out for some reason, and then they had to go with her, which I
Oh,
think is
Lily Collins, huh?
yeah. There was someone else that wanted the role that lost it to Lily Collins, and then Lily Collins backed out. I'd be kind of mad if that was the
Oh yeah,
case.
that'd be terrible.
Like, bro,
You wanted something that bad, and
I don't remember who it was, but there was a another girl that wanted it, didn't get it, and it went to her, which I think was kind of weird.
you would think that they would, if she backed out, offered her the chance to do it.
Well, I mean, the original girl might have been busy or something. I can't remember who it was. She was kind of a big actress too, though. I think she'd have been really good at the role. Of course, I can't remember her name right now because my memory doesn't work.
But I thought the girl who played Mia did a really good job.
She did,
So
and she looked crazy. Like her eyes, a lot of
yes,
it's her eyes. Like like I tell Whitney all the time about having serial killer eyes.
yes.
The way her eyes opened, where it was like
Why are you
so
doing
much
that?
white on the outside. You know what I mean? Like, well, it really just added to how crazy she looked. Okay, I found it. It was Jillian Jacobs auditioned for the role, but lost to Lily Collins, and then Collins dropped out and was replaced by Jane Levy.
Gotcha.
Um, that really, I think the other ones might have been. I don't think Lily Collins would have played it as well. Lily Collins is a much better actress, like
Yeah,
overall, but I don't think she'd have played the Deadite
Manipulated
as well.
times.
Yeah,
She was in quite a bit of movies right around that time, wasn't she? Or
yeah,
was it later? So maybe that's why she picked something that was probably she felt it was going to make her more money, maybe,
would have been more
or look
commercially
better on her
viable.
IMDb.
Yeah, something that would have been more commercially viable, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But you can't blame her for that. I mean,
I mean, when did City of Bones come out? What? Because
same year.
that's why.
She made a mistake because that movie sucks.
Yeah, I'm really sad that that movie wasn't as good
It
as the
was
book. So
so not good.
I really love that book. That whole series is amazing.
She was in 3 movies in 2013, so she was probably busy.
Okay,
And she had just
yeah,
done Mirror Mirror. Really, I mean,
Mirror Mirror was okay
all
too.
the movies that she did up before that one, I don't like any of her movies for real. I do like Priest. I thought Priest was cool, but that's because it's based on a comic
Hmm.
book and I'm a nerd.
Um,
She was cool in
maybe
Token.
maybe she was worried that if she took that movie that she would get typecast into horror. Maybe that's not what she wanted.
Maybe. I think Jillian Jacobs would have been a good choice because she's wild looking.
Who
Her face is
who's
real
that?
animated. She is.
Say Jillian.
Yeah, she's in Community. Let's see here. She's in Fear Street. She's C. Berman from Fear Street, like the one
Okay.
that survived or whatever.
Yeah.
I know. I said that's the first thing I think of. I know you've seen,
Yes, I love Fear Street. It's so
but
good.
her face is real animated, so she might have been pretty cool at it too.
Yeah.
Possibly because like she's like
You would have had
super.
to have been animated to play a Deadite.
It's just the eyes, man. I think that's what makes. Whereas the first time around, like Cheryl's Deadeye is creepy, but her eyes are kind of dead because there's so much makeup around them, And I think it was a really wise decision to let to go with contacts and let their eyes emote because I think without the emotion you get from her face, you would lose a lot, and I think that makes all the difference. Like the way they did her face and the makeup choices on this film were extremely intelligent because like it allows her because like a lot of our emotions as humans is all in our face, like our eyes,
Yes, I
the
know.
way our eye shapes. I know you and our friends are the worst. You always look like you're in a bad mood, but that makes all the
I
difference, right?
always having to argue with people about my face, so
Well,
I get it.
if you go back to the original ones, when you look how the Deadite's face looks, there's so much makeup on their face that it's really hard for them to emote with anything other than the shape of their mouth. So it's like,
Yeah.
and that's cool. And that's the same problem you have with old school zombie movies. It just doesn't. you don't get as much emotion from them. I think that's why movies like this one and The Walking Dead and these newer horror movies with all these more modern, even practical effects still, but modern ways to apply them and different approaches to applying the makeup makes all the difference. Because I think the Deadites in this are way scarier and better done than in the originals.
Well, because they're like I said beginning, they look more like zombies in the Evil Dead, whereas they're really supposed to be possessed people.
Yeah,
And that's what makes them creepier. So by doing the practical effects of just having like simple, well not really simple, but like more like not
natural
doing it
looking.
like Ashes, yeah, they look like normal people. It's just they look distorted, like somewhat distorted. So like it makes them more terrifying because it's a possessed person.
Yes, and they
Whereas
played
the
it
old ones
so
don't
well.
seem that way. Yeah,
And
they do.
some of the other girls though, like when Eric gets possessed, he looks closer to like the original ones. His face is real covered. And he looks like deformed a little bit. But he's also been beat half to death, so I guess that might go to it as well.
God, he got
I don't know how my man lasted as long as he did, dude.
I don't know either.
He got beat
He's
about
gotten
the face with a
stabbed.
crowbar.
He got beat with a crowbar. He's gotten nails all over the face and chest and arms. Oh,
Yeah,
that was terrible.
it's funny. Another cool little thing I have before
His
we get
back. Ooh.
everything. He got stabbed with that box cutter that was 5 feet long. It looked like.
This is like, why is it so
I
long?
know it's like the biggest box cutter ever. He caught it in the ribs. Apparently in the opening scene, now the gas that he pours on his daughter, A is apple juice, but B, when she's burning, if you look over her right shoulder, there's a face of an angry demon in the flames.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, because she was like fully possessed. So I bet you the girl you see later on is just her. That would make sense because she's like, they keep saying he's coming, and that he never comes though. It's a lady, which is weird. It would have been cooler if you'd have made it be a dude, but just because you kept saying he's coming over and over again. But again, it was good. I liked it. Do you want to jump into the rubric, or do you have more to
Yes.
add before we do that?
The rubric. No, I don't have anything to add.
All right. Yeah, guys, for this new approach we're taking, I've changed the rubric a little bit just to kind of go more into what we're fully looking for. So the elements have changed a little bit. We're still going to do the literary element because I think script and story development and character development and dialogue is important.
Yes.
And then we're going to do a special effects or just effects design element, which will go more into character designs, the gore, the practical versus digital effects. Do the effects connect to the narrative? Some movies have them there for no reason. Some it goes
Yeah.
along with it and it's great. And then we have a visual technical element, and that'll be the overall aesthetic, being with the lighting, camera shots, movement, lens selection, all that jazz. Then of course we left the sound element because that's Jenny's favorite.
Well, you gotta have a sound element.
Well, it makes a difference, yeah, for sure. All
Yeah.
right, so the
We don't watch
literary
silent
element.
films anymore.
Oh no, we're in the world of talkies now.
Yeah.
Literary element, script, story development, dialogue, and character development.
I, this is where I complained most of the
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. I mean, the
It
story is developed. The dialogue is weak. I don't care about any of the characters at all. I thought the dude characters needed to die. They deserved it.
yeah.
Her friends kind of sucked, and you don't really care
I
about Mia.
I don't really like the writing. I don't think it was well done. I just don't think it was. Like
Yeah, and you can't give them
this
props for the story because they just retold Sam Raimi's story.
yeah. So they I mean, it's all based on Necronomicon and some moron who reads it or who reads from it. And then it just all goes haywire
Yeah.
after
At,
that.
at
So
least in
like
the original one, none of them actually read it. They played the tape.
yeah. So I don't know. This one's hard for me. It's to me it scores very low.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe 10
I will agree to a 10,
because,
but
like
I'm
I
like
said,
in the
it's
middle of 5 and a 10.
if you go
So,
with the original, I mean, because the story development, they're rehashing the original story. And all the things they
yeah.
added to it to modernize it, I think suck. Like you said, the drug
Yes.
addiction was whatever. I get it. But that just added drama. There could have been any reason for them. They could have been hanging out for the summer in that camp. Like they didn't need any reason to get there. Because once you're
Because
there,
honestly,
it
they
takes
could have
off.
left it out and been like, she stayed and took care of her mother. That could have been the reason.
Yeah, she was just crazy.
It was maybe a getaway to just get away from everything, like the bustling part of the city, and just hang out with your friends in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, because in the original one, when she gets raped by a tree and is freaking out, and the whole shower scene and all that jazz. They do all that before. She just turns before they can get her out of there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it was just so quickly of a progression. They could have done that. They just try to add some nonsense drama that we didn't need because you're about to get
Yeah, it
possessed
was
by a demon. So we don't need this whole I make a solemn oath and drop my drugs down this well.
yeah, it's no.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with a 10. I agree with that. That was kind of meh. Now the next
Yes.
element though, the special effects and design element, I think this
It was
one
really well
they
done.
killed it. Like the visual effects are awesome. They're all practical. I love it. I love that. I think horror as a genre should try to stay as much practical as possible. Some scenes you can't. Some of the things we do now you can't do practical, but like things like this, like blood and like changing limbs being cut off, all of that can remain practical and look awesome, especially in the 2000s when we know we have all these techniques. You know, if you ever watch the show Face Off, you can do a whole lot with very
I
little.
know, it's so cool. It's
You
so
know, so I
cool.
really appreciated that. The set design was awesome. That cabin looks sketch. Like I would not want to go in it. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
know, like, even the inside of it was just funky,
yeah, it was
like, it's like,
gross.
"What?"
Which I thought I kind of dug. I love the throwback to the original with having the Delta 88 there.
Mhm.
The room in the basement with the girls lit on fire and all the dead animals in the book, that looked real rad. Like it was cool. I really
Yeah.
like that. The gore in this movie is substantial, which I also really dug. Like the arm cut
Yes, it was
off and the girl cutting half her face off and like the nails in Eric's head and face and like arms and stuff was all really cool. And I really enjoyed it.
yeah, I thought it was really well done. This one needs to score high.
Yeah, oh for sure. I'm thinking 25 for this one.
Yeah.
Because I mean I
I
think
will
they
be
killed it.
yeah, they did a really good job on all of the special effects.
Like
I
even
will
the
give them
character
that.
design, like the characters fell flat, but they looked cool, especially once they
Yeah.
started to turn or from once they started to get attacked. Because even like the way they were attacked, you saw it. You know what I mean? Like David gets shot with nails like 5 times, and then you kind of see the way he moves changes. They did a really good job with continuing the injuries. Whereas you see a lot of movies where
Mhm.
like I know you just got shot 6 times, but you're still fine. No, they were like hobbling and everything was rough, and it looked
Yes.
cool. All
Yeah.
right, cool. So the visual technical element. So this one is the overall aesthetic of the film is pleasing to the eye. It's got creative lighting, creative camera shots and movement, and lens selection, which we don't really know much about the lens selection. I probably need to take that part out. But I really liked how this movie was shot. Typically, I know in our small episode, I was hating on those upside down shots, but I really liked it in this one, how they did it. And then
Yeah.
they continued that drone shot. It wasn't there for no reason. You know what I mean? Like it was a good, like weird intro, and then it pans, and then you just follow the Jeep for like a minute. And I really enjoyed that. I liked how I mentioned earlier how they paid homage back to Raimi with the moving camera through the woods, like the
Yes,
demon's
I love that
perspective.
part.
And that was
Yeah,
cool.
because they do that several times,
Yeah.
and where it, like, busts open the door and, like, comes at her, and then she starts talking, like, and it's like that sound effect where the voice was, like, real booming, but you could
Yeah.
tell it's not her talking. It was really good. That was what Evil Dead was, like,
Yes.
wholeheartedly, like, chasing him through the house. That was so funny. Like, like, but, and then, like, it also did the sound effect, the same one.
Yes, yes, it did, which I liked. I liked that was
I did
cool.
like that
Another
a lot.
throwback. And just some of
Mhm.
the shots were really good, man. Like those low shots of her popping up through when she's like telling Natalie's character not to cut it off. Don't cut it off. Leave it alone. Don't cut it off. And the camera pans from like her like holding like the electric knife, and then it goes back to that real low shot of just her face popping out and her neck's all sideways and just not
Yeah.
human, which I thought was really cool. Um
Yeah, and the lighting was really well
Yes,
done.
very well done. So this one again, it scores really high for me. I mean, I would think this is another 25
Yeah. I'll go with that.
because I can't see anything that they did wrong. Really, I mean, there was a couple boring shots, but they were just kind of thrown in. You know, those 3/4. Let's just get a guy in a scene for dialogue. But all the shots that mattered were really cool. Like when her hand gets pinned, and they do that shot that's through the Jeep's other door, and you see her hand kind of moving as she's pulling away. That was a really cool shot.
I know that hurts me.
I know in those scenes where she's like climbing through the little weird ass hole under their shed, all those camera shots were really well done. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
them. And there's stuff in the basement, even when they're fighting, the movement was cool. And how there is no light down there really. It's just his flashlight, but you get these glimpses of her like throwing him places and the light comes on and goes off. it was really cool. So I'm definitely down to
Yeah.
25 on that. All right, man. The sound element. What do you think?
I think this one scores a little higher than I have been, recently, and it's not nothing to do with music. It's more of like just the sound in general. Because, like I said, with like the demon, like you get the idea that it's coming free for you.
Okay, yeah,
And then I liked the differences in I can't explain it. The where the demon it's like that booming sound with the demon like talking. Like that was
yeah,
really good. And then the beginning, like after it shows that opening scene where with the daughter and the dad, it and when it pans to that upside down shot, it had I always like that storybook kind of creepy score that they put in movies, and I thought that was really well done, and I actually noted it there. The only thing I did not like, and you all mentioned it too, was the weird siren sounds that came at the end. I'm like, what is that
yes.
siren from?
Yes, it was
We're
no
in the middle of the
reason.
woods.
I know, it was no reason, and, like, you coulda had that ominous, like, I'm scared without that, like, it was like The Purge or something. It was
I
weird,
know, it's stupid.
and it's like Aaron said, it takes you out of it almost, like, because 'cause you're in it, they're in
Yeah,
this, like, super battle for your life, and then there's this weird purge siren going off, and you're just like, "Why? I don't understand."
yeah.
The sound design of that, and that knocked off 5 points for me, like, it would not go a 25 solely because of
No, I'm not gonna do a 25.
that last bit.
So I want to also mention that like sound is not just the score and the music. It's the sound effects.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
you actually have those people who create them sounds. And I think a lot of people forget how the sounds are created because there's a sound stage and they create the sounds
Yeah,
and they're overlaid over top of the film, which I thought was really cool. I learned a lot because when I was teaching, I used to teach film studies. So we would talk about like how sound is actually created, and the stuff that they use is really cool. Like you use lettuce for like leaves or like whatever or stuff like that, but like the sound of like the pouring of like the rain, or it's not even rain, it was blood,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden it was just stark silence and you think it's all good, but is it? And like stuff like that, I just thought all that was just really well done, and I think the sound they did a really they knocked it out of the park on that, but the siren really threw me.
yeah, it took me out.
So,
That was another scene I forgot to talk about. I love that when she's holding her necklace and that first drop hits right in the center of it before the
mhm.
rain
Oh,
starts, that
yeah.
was really, really cool. But no, I agree. Like, I think, having the Deadites and, like, the weird, disembodied movement in the woods, having that similar sound to the original, but having their own sound, and,
Mhm.
just the way the characters interacted, how the voice changed, how the music was different for Mia when she was herself versus Deadite version, and how
Yeah.
the tone changed. Or like right when you would notice when someone was fine right before, and then the next time you see her, the music would be different. And you kind of, if you paid attention, you would know that this person is now possessed. And I thought that was really cool and well done. This is like a 20 for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's a 20 for me.
Yeah. Like I said,
I really liked the sound element.
if they wouldn't have had
I
that
just hated
stupid
the
siren,
writing.
I know I could have jacked this thing up without the siren. But yeah,
Yeah.
the writing was bad. Like I said, it can't be terrible because you're taking stuff that was already out there. Because a lot of this story is taken from Raimi's original idea. He's kind of redoing a lot of the original. It's like a retelling, sorta, but also in at a different time period, so it's not the
Yeah.
same. But yeah, and that's with any remake. You're taking a story that's already there. So I'm not gonna give any remake high points for writing because you're not being creative. You're taking a story that someone else already told and rehashing it. You know what I mean? Like you're retelling something that's already been told. That's why it's called a remake. So you're not, unless you
Yeah.
totally change it, then it's not a remake anymore. So you're never going to get a lot of props for writing because I would give the original all the points and not to you. You didn't write any of that. And that's kind of my
It's
view on that.
true. Mhm.
Well, all right, man. So, like we said at the top, there is the new format. If you listen to our previous episode, and there should be like a little announcement before this episode, we no longer have Jenny Dreadfuls every week. They're going to come
Nope.
out once a month and they'll fit the theme. Like I said, this month our theme is remakes. So, you're going to have 3 episodes that are remakes and then one novella, book, short story, something, some literary element that is a retelling or a remake of a previous one to kind of fit the tone of our month, the theme. And every month will be that way going forward. So yeah, I think we're going to read Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies this month,
Yes.
which is a hilarious book. It's a great retelling of that story. Some interesting
Yes.
add-ons. If you haven't read it,
And
like I said,
I'm
we'll be talking about it in 2,
and
3
I have
weeks.
not read it, and I'm looking forward to it because I love Pride and Prejudice. So I'm just looking forward to reading something that has that plus zombies. That's
Yeah,
whatever.
it's a really interesting take on it, and the movie's good too. Really, we could definitely cover that movie at some point. So yeah, guys, there you go. We're gonna be reading that. We'll talk about that at the end of the month. It's almost
Yes.
like we're the Horror in the Halls book club. So you read with us, and we'll talk about it at the end of the
Yes,
month.
book club.
And that will be how we do things going forward. So every month, as you guys should already know, we'll have a theme. I'll let you know the theme before the start of every month with some kind of post on our social medias, and then that's what we'll talk about. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, guys, sounds like that will be the bell. That's it. You want to take us out of here, Jenny?
Sure. So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Dreadfuls on Instagram. And you can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, let us know if you think about the new format. Let us know if you agree or disagree with us on this score of a 80% B for the Evil Dead.
Yes.
And if you disagree, I don't really care, but I
We don't care.
I want to hear your opinion, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, guys, that's it,
We'll talk
and
about it.
we'll see you next time.
Bye.